and welcome to Add More Zest. My name's Rebecca, also known as 4Kids at 147, and I set this all up ready to do a double strip again, like I have done for the past couple of weeks. However, even though we have actually turned on the air conditioning in the conservatory, it is still far too hot in general / in here. So I'm going to be kind to myself with the heat, and I am going to section this off to one section. I'm just trying to see if there's there are colours that of course go into the next section, but yeah, it is far too hot. I'm actually filming this on a Thursday, so I like to do my YouTube filming on Tuesday, Wednesday / Thursday is sort of my rough guide. If we're busy in the shop, like launch weekends on the Tuesday, then it flips to the Wednesday. At the moment, because we've been packing Advent, and when Megan's been available for us to sort of tag team it, which seems to go a lot quicker, we've done that. So it's actually, yeah, it was going to be Wednesday that I started filming. However, yesterday it was hitting 29 degrees where we are, which is far too hot. Far too hot to do a lot of anything, to be honest. But definitely far too hot to be shutting myself in a room. So I didn't do it. I knew today would be cooler, but still warm. But out of the 2 days, it was the cooler one. So if it was a normal week, then I probably would have still done the 2 hours, or 2 hours-ish, 2 sections size of my painting, and I would have just done some today and some tomorrow. However, I am busy tomorrow. I've got a couple of appointments tomorrow, sort of afternoon time, and then Megan will be taking care of orders and making sure those go out. But yeah, I can't guarantee that I'm going to get any time to film in the morning. Mornings are always very hit and miss. Sometimes I can start really early in the morning filming and it's great, and other times it just doesn't happen. So I can't use that as a definite. And then because I am at Festival of Quilts this weekend on Saturday, I won't be able to film on Sunday for the Sunday waffle. I might film next week's logbook update video then, because it is supposed to be normal temperatures next week. When I say normal for us for summer in my head is between 20 and 22 to 23 degrees, which is manageable. Today it is not. So apologies, but it is a shorter or slightly shorter whip and waffle. I'm going to do one section so that I don't boil any more than I already am doing. And believe me, I am already cooking. And I have been in here less than 5 minutes. But yeah, if you can hear any background noise, it will be the aircon that we put on an attempt to sort of cool me down to cold maybe before I came in here, but it's not lasted long. Anyway, I hope the weather is a little bit more bearable where you are. To be fair, you know, in general, the weather is okay if, one, I don't have to do a load of lugging about. I actually have a box of stuff, a box of things that have arrived for the shop. Currently in our bedroom. It arrived yesterday, but the box is extremely heavy. I do feel so sorry for the delivery drivers, but the box is so heavy. I am not carrying that into the shop in this weather. It sort of restocks of things, and it's a big filament order ready for things to print. But at the minute, the printers haven't been on for the last couple of days, because then packing orders would be a bit more unbearable. It's the joys of it all. So yeah, I've currently left that box until it cools down a little bit, which luckily it is supposed to cool down. I think it's supposed to be quite warm for the rest of the week. But then we actually get what I call the nice summer next week. So I'll try and do like at least the 2 sections next week and go from there. And that was a lot of waffling and a lot of a section, just to say that it is going to be a shorter video this week because it's too hot. And I just need to take that into account and try to be kind to myself in relation to it. At the minute we have 1 air conditioning unit. We use the air conditioning in our conservatory / house maximum probably of 2 weeks a year, and that's it. The shop actually ends up being quite cool for most of the day. It only heats up nearer the end of the day when the sun hits it, and even then it's a lot more bearable than the conservatory is. But yeah, it's that weather where it's too hot to do loads of strenuous activities. So I've tried to pick the jobs that I do according to the ones that are a bit more relaxed. And as much as a WIP and Waffle is, I can't have the aircon on while I'm doing the WIP and Waffle. I can't leave the door open and have a fan pointing at myself or anything like that, because it's just far too noisy for that sort of stuff. Anyway, we are on comments from the June Waffle still. It's going to take me a while to get through them, but we are on comments from the 22nd of June. So the first one is actually the cat lady. Now bear in mind this was a while ago. This was of course at the end of June. So she said, regards to her move, she said, as expected, it's gotten messy. So they have made the hard decision earlier in the week to withdraw their offer on their future house. So they are back on the search again. Now, if anybody has listened to Thursday's WIP and Waffle, which has some more up-to-date comments, their move is now potentially going ahead in August. I think it's a different home, a different forever home. But yeah, their move is on a go. Let me just move this cover paper out of the way. It's just catching the bottom of these diamonds. Yeah, so happy to have sort of a comment and then an update as well, to know that the house move is going along well. Right, hang on, before I go on to the next one. That is those done, starting with the darker ones, because it works better for me, using the tray that launches on Friday. Okay, I'll draw one up arrow next to it. Carrie, she says, hi Rebecca. She says, another great waffle. She said the little guy peeking out from the painting, which is Artist's Room, that I was doing during June Waffle, she said is a Kirby from the video game. There we go. I did not know that. Still thought the picture was cute though. She said about dogs barking, she said her dog niece is a barker. Love that, dog niece is a barker. She is afraid of everything, so she barks at everything. She will even bark at people she knows if there is something different. She said, like if hubby is wearing sunglasses, she barks like she doesn't know him until he takes them off. She said then she's like, oh, hi, Uncle Josh. Did you see that strange man that was just here? She said, it's funny. She says, well, thank you for a great break in the day. She says, have a wonderful weekend. I love that. Luna is very, very good at smelling when somebody, a nose is on point. So she will often, before even like our ring doorbell senses that somebody is walking up to the door, she will have already smelt that they are coming and absolutely legged it inside. She does sometimes bark at them, at people, at the kids or the hubby coming home, but quite often it seems to be a will you get in here type bark, like a hurry up, I'm waiting for you kind of bark, more so than a who are you. She doesn't like it if they bring any friends home though. That's a definite no-no. It takes her a long time. Nursey says, hi Miss Rebecca. She said, prayers for you and the family that everyone gets well soon. Thank you. There was a little bit of COVID going around at our house in June. But it didn't have a huge effect. It did, you know, a couple of them felt a bit rotten for a couple of days, but in general, it didn't hit hard. She says this is her first June waffle, and she has enjoyed it so much. She says, thank you for all that you do for us. She says, oh, by the way, she says her name is Joyce. And of course, she said she'll keep calling herself this North Carolina gal. She says, take care, and I'll see you tomorrow on your whip and waffle. Love it. Absolutely love it. I've spotted an arrow that I missed. That is the aim of the game when it comes to this painting. How many can I miss? And the answer is lots. So I'm going to get that one. Oh, tipped out far too many, but hey, as long as I can get hold of that one. And then go back to my blues. Darcy says she doesn't watch any unboxings. She says that helps with her no-buy. So yeah, just not seeing any that have come out can definitely help in relation to that. Brianne, she says she agrees with Jill. She says the low 70s or 22 degrees Celsius, she said, is her ideal temperature as well. She said it's been over 90 degrees Fahrenheit the past couple of weeks, she says, here in Indiana. And she feels like she's melting when she goes outside. Yeah, I feel like I am melting inside, outside, the whole flipping lot. I feel like it just takes me so long to cool down. About this sort of time of day, maybe a little bit later in the day, so more the time the video goes up, so about 4 o'clock, I do find that the shade comes over the house, so the shadow from the house covers our little patio outside the conservatory, and I love that time of day because I can just sit out in the garden, get the breeze, still be in the shade, and it's beautiful. I'm not one for sitting in the sun. I'm definitely not one for sitting in the direct sun. So yeah, I can sort of handle the heat a lot better when it gets later. I just park myself outside in the breeze. But I'm going to be so happy when the temperature goes down a bit next week. I still want it to be nice. I still don't want it to rain, so it feels like summer. But I still want to be able, missed another one. I still want to be able to get stuff done. Do you know what I mean? Just move around my own home and not feel restricted due to the fact that any time I move, it's too hot. That would be the ideal. Right, have I got all the A's? I feel like the A's definitely jump out a lot more. Those arrows are hiding in with other white symbols. But I'm going to keep getting them each time I see them. It definitely does extend things, but they annoy me otherwise. Emily's Life, she says, hi Rebecca from Ontario, Canada. She says she was wondering if the tips on my shop, particularly the metal ones, she says fit in Diamond Art Club pens. She said, or do they only fit in the pens in our shop? She says she loves all the bright colours in the trays and my current WIP. Thank you. They should fit in the Diamond Art Club pens. I know Diamond Art Club have now started doing the screw tip ones. I don't know about those. However, I do have one of the older Diamond Art Club pens that just standard push-in tip, and these should fit in. I've not had a pen yet that they don't. I've had some where I've had to remove the little O-rings, the like little rubber bands. I've had some where I've had to take those off because the fit is very, very snug. But I haven't had ones that they don't fit in yet, so they should fit in there. Right, have I got all these little... currently trying to do all the symbols that are white based symbols, because I find they tend to be the darker colours. Let's just get these ones because there's only a few. When I find where it is. Melissa, she says she's been lucky enough to snag all of the Mrs. Butter D kits she says that she wanted from Diamond Art Club. She said so far, she said, except for Artist Room. She says fingers crossed she can snag it in the next restock. She loves her artwork, she says, and mine is turning out perfectly. She says she was wondering if I was to order the canvases that I sell, would I be willing to autograph them? Ooh, I don't really have an autograph, if that sort of makes sense. I don't know what I'd do as an autograph, to be honest. It's not that I'm not willing, but I'd say an autograph is different to a signature. And I don't think I've ever put thought into what an autograph would be. So it's not a no. I mean, I'm happy to write, you know, a little bit on the back or the front, or, you know, about it to make it like unique in that way. I wouldn't be able to put my full-on signature on it because, of course, that is for legal documents and my bank card and things. But other than that, yeah, I might have to test some pens though. Monique says, hi Rebecca. She said she is back from, sorry, I'm looking for a diamond as well. She's back from a small holiday and she was listening to me every day. She said she's wishing the family well. I hope you had an amazing time on holiday and had the time of your life. Susan, she says she's been meaning to ask. She said she bought our blank cover sheets. She says, but she hasn't used or even opened them yet. She says, what program does she use to print them on? She says, for example, could she print photos or pictures of a diamond painting from the vendor's website? And is Canva an option or Windows Paint? I mean, in relation to pictures from the vendor's website, that's something the vendor would have to confirm or not. Like, we would never do that without permission, because that's potential copyright, because we then sell it in our shop. Though for personal use, I think people would be perfectly fine with it. Just like you can take screenshots of things, you know, it's for personal use. You're not trying to commercialize it in any way. But yeah, there's a few different programs that you can potentially use. I'd be tempted to print something on a piece of paper first to check you're happy. But you could we currently use, we actually use PowerPoint for ours, because we can set the size of like the PowerPoint slide to be the size of the cover paper that we put in, and then we can actually make the image slightly bigger, which means our printer will only print the smallest amount of border to get the most use out of the paper itself. But yeah, you could potentially use paint and stuff. It would just be the settings, you know, to make sure that the edges around where it doesn't print are as small as possible to give you the most value out of your paper. But by all means, test designs that you want to do in just on plain A4 paper, just, you know, bog standard printer paper, and if you're happy with that, then print it on the cover paper, and do it that way. You could also draw and doodle if you're any good at it, but I'm not. Brianne says, hi Rebecca. Said, as for the video that looked upside down, she said she thought it was a fun change. She said she doesn't often watch a lot, as she plays the video while she's doing other tasks. So she's not watching the screen, she's just listening, while she's doing things like dishes, laundry, or watering her garden, or just working on her own diamond painting. She said, so she looked up after a few minutes and noticed the different view, and thought she'd missed me saying something about having to record different that day. So she rewound the video and played closer attention to the intros, and it was never mentioned. She said, so she did figure it was a happy accident that gave us a fun little change. That is true. It was a fun little accident. That I went to do this one, I thought there was only one, and there's not, there's loads of them. Yeah, it was purely an accident. Every time I import from the memory card on my camera to the computer, I automatically tell it to reduce background noise and turn it round. It's like become a habit, but for some reason something must have distracted me that day, and then for some reason I must have thought it was already done. That, or I thought I hadn't done it and did it again and basically turned it upside down. I don't know. Sometimes this house gets a little bit crazy. It gets very busy. It gets lots of distractions, especially if everybody comes in at once and has lots of updates all at once, and there's lots of different things going on in the background, so goodness knows what it was. But yeah, I do appreciate the fact that it seems to have gone down so well as being something just with a little twist, a little bit different. Kaz, she says, hi Rebecca. She says she's sorry to hear that Karis and Megan have both taken ill with COVID. She says wishing them a speedy recovery. Yeah, Karis say she suffered for a couple of days, but still went to work or was working from home, and sort of powered through on that side of things. Megan works with children, so that's a whole different ball game. So she actually came home, pretty much slept for the whole day, and then was much better after that. Though we don't know if Megan had it for definite. We're just guessing that she has, because we only had one test left, and Karis felt ill first. So we can only assume it was. Brianne, she says, hi Rebecca. She said, yes, it's the weekend. So she's catching up again after a very busy work week. She says she's had me playing on her phone while she does all sorts of chores. So she's able to comment a bit if she pauses what she's doing. She says she can't comment when she streams it on the TV. You're like me, I often will put YouTube on my phone, especially when I'm doing things like putting away the washing, which I actually need to do because it's been so hot the last few days. I've sort of just done a couple of loads of washing, put it out on the line, not brought it in until it's cool to that nice temperature where I'm like, okay, I can deal with it. But by the time I've brought it in, I've got so warm I can't be doing with putting it away. Whereas when the weather is like 22 degrees or something and like nice, I bring it in throughout the day as it dries and put it away at the same time. So much easier. But in this heat, I'll do anything not to have to go out into the sun trap part of the garden where the washing goes. Anything to not have to deal with that heat. She says, so a long comment here. She says, on the topic of dogs, she said she's had several breeds throughout her life, and she loves all dogs really. She says she's not a cat person so much. She says their current dog is a pit bull that they rescued from the shelter in December of 2020, and she is top 2 of all dogs she's ever known. She says her favourite will always be the Keys Hound. She grew up with, that was her second birthday present and her constant friend and protector as a young girl. Oh, bless. Okay, where did that come from? Oh, up there. I've just spotted a diamond fall down, and I think I've just not pushed it in properly. That, or my hands are actually getting to that point it could have pulled it up. I'll have to be careful where I lean on this painting. My hands are so warm, I feel like I could end up with diamonds sticking to me. She says she feels pit bulls get a bad rep because some people choose to raise them poorly, which I agree. She says, but everyone that she's ever known has been a sweet baby, silly and loving. She said it's wonderful that there are so many breeds to suit our different needs or preferences. She says though she wishes that pit bulls wouldn't get such bad attention. I agree. It's one of those where the few bad owners, because I do believe a lot of it is the owner's fault rather than the dog's fault. Sorry, I just dropped a drill under my table. Yeah, that a few bad owners just taint the breed, which is a shame. She says, as for Diamond Art Club, she says perforated plastic cover. She says she's not impressed, and she doesn't plan to ever utilise it. See, I'm being cheeky here, trying to just pop some ABs in with this glue dot because it's not as sticky as it once was. And then I'm fighting with it. She says, much for the same reason. She says she will forever be chasing symbols in the surrounding sections. She says, and also she adores our pretty cover paper. That's another reason that I definitely, the main reason I started using cover paper, even the plain stuff, was to stop me chasing. So having a clear cover that's perforated is not going to stop me chasing. But now that we have pretty patterned cover paper, then all the more so. I want the pretty. I think, there are a few aspects in our life. There are many aspects in our life that we could potentially make pretty. But I think hobbies is one that if you can make something just that little bit prettier, that just makes you smile that little bit more, then frankly, why not? She says one more comment. She says, with the mega trays, she says she has to say that even though she does multi-place, she said she couldn't use the mega tray for a couple of reasons. She says they're not as comfy for her to hold because of the larger size. She says, but mainly, she says, because she would end up pouring far too many drills into it because it feels like it needs to be filled. She said, and honestly, she says her sections are just too small. I just realised I picked up too many ABs. I'm currently using putty, which is why I'm still doing it with this pen. So yeah, she says her sections are too small. She says even if she uncovers 2 pieces of the cover paper, she said it rarely justifies the regular size trays. She says especially if the image has a lot of confetti, which I agree. It is a rather big one. Some people absolutely love it because they uncover big amounts and then just recover up. I've used it a couple of times, but primarily I do sit it in my hand a bit different, the mega tray, so I sit it in my hand that way so that I can cope with the bigger size of it. Plus I multi-place vertically. But I've mainly done it if I have like a really solid white background. So if I do a Splatterworks, for example, with like the primarily all white background, then I'm looking forward to using the mega tray then. But I do think it just has that sort of little niche where it's useful. But other than that, I use primarily the AMZ tray, and then the Zesty tray I primarily use for Paint Gem minis. And part of that is to stop me tipping out too many. I figure if I have a small tray, I'm not going to tip as many into it, and therefore, actually have an amount that is suitable for the size of painting that I'm actually doing. Doesn't always work that way, but I try. Right, let me find this one. There it is. She says she uses the Zesty tray most of the time. She said it's just something that in her brain that makes her pour more to fill the bigger space. Well, that's in my brain too, because I do the same. She says probably silly. She says, but just how I think. Well, if it's silly, we're both silly, because I do think the same. And I do the same. She says she does like a mega tray to use for kitting up and de-kitting. She says the extra space is nice, she says, because she can drop drills from time to time and it can catch them easier. Yes, I use my No Lines mega tray more than any other tray. No, not more than any other tray. Well, I suppose maybe I do, because I am constantly changing my colours about. But I definitely, of the mega, I use my No Lines on my de-kitting, well, kitting up primarily, more than I use my mega tray with lines. But it is something that we do sell a fair amount of. Our AMZ and Zesty are still pretty much neck and neck in popularity, and everybody has their own preference according to quite often the size of paintings that they do, I think, and of course the comfort in their own hands. But yeah, they have a place, but they're not for everybody. And it really depends how often you do big areas of multiplacing and the area that you uncover as well, sort of in one go. Grey Legrand says, hi Rebecca. She says, happy 22nd. She says, yes, she's still running behind. She says she has finished Gary, which is Gary the snail from SpongeBob. She says on June the 13th. She says, so the remainder of the month is budget WIPs. She says she too likes the idea of having a stash limit. She says her Diamond Art Club stash is currently sitting, she says, gulp, at 39. She says after watching Lisette go through her stash detox and her new limits, she says it's been very eye-opening. She said, especially since so many canvases are large and take a good bit of time. Yes, that is definitely true. I did a stash sort of detox a while back, and actually took quite a few out. I love every diamond painting in my stash. Do not get me wrong, I do. I like every diamond painting in my stash, but whether they are sort of a top love or I can love from a distance is a different matter. And as much as I keep trying to get mine down, I feel like it does more growing than not. So maybe that's something I could do with doing soon. She said at least now she is more conscious of her purchases, and she may de-stash ones she's not as passionate about anymore. And then she said, maybe. That can always be a tough thing, is the maybe. And because, see, I think if I didn't do YouTube, well, one, I don't think I'd have quite as many in my stash if I wasn't sort of in the thick of it to a certain extent. And I am, you know, very grateful that I do get gifted ones. And sometimes I buy them as well, which probably doesn't help. But yeah, I am blessed that I do get gifted ones, and sometimes I'm like, do you know what, I really like this, and then I put it in my stash. But whether I would have bought it if I had, you know, like a budget to spend, or I was being conscious of and actually chose to buy it, that might be different. So maybe it is something that I need to consider doing at some point, is doing another sort of work through and figure out my loves compared to my likes. Mysterious Day, she says, hi Rebecca. She says, thinking of the family during catching COVID. She said, here's to a fast recovery, which it was. So thank you. She said, today was spent downstairs. She said, as outside temperatures reached nearly 100 degrees Fahrenheit. She says, which is nearly 38 degrees Celsius. Goodness me. She says, with 50% humidity. She said, even at 7 p.m, she said it's 90 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 32 degrees Celsius outside. She said inside it's 88 degrees Fahrenheit, 31 degrees Celsius. See, yeah. Just go and put yourself in the freezer, I think, at that point. She says, even with her hair up, tank top on, leggings and a lot of fans going, she says she's sweating. I'm currently sweating. I'm warm. I have a dress on. I do not have a dress on that is potentially suitable to go outside shopping, but it is suitable to answer the door to any potential deliveries. That's about the extent of it. But yeah, my hair is scraped back and will probably need washing tonight due to the heat. She says she's also going to purchase some tank tops and some shorts from Target out of desperation. She said as none of hers fit after her weight gain, and she can't get in shape to wear her old ones. I do actually have a pair of shorts as well, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like a dress is cooler for some reason. I don't have many dresses. Well, in fact, I have two, and I have one that is currently my favourite for when it's really hot, and I actually wore it over the weekend and then washed it so that I could wear it again. I was like, I don't care if I'm wearing the same thing. It's been washed. It's going on. She says she's working on Caramia. She says she is almost done with another full row. And she's looking into asking for paint gems for real. She says so she can do those downstairs and her big canvas upstairs. I haven't done any of this diamond painting this last week. Partly because it's primarily been too hot. Also because I have done another couple of late nights packing Advent. That is my life in July, August. But I have done a couple of paint gem minis. I've actually been working through my summer kit, which if you watch my channel regularly, I actually packed that to take with us to Center Parcs at the beginning of June. And I didn't do any while at Center Parcs. But I have been trying to do some of those, partly because it's nice to do the summer kit in summer. I mean, it's not a huge difference. I've done Christmas in the middle of the year before, I think, when I did the Christmas kit. But it is nice to do it in summer. And yeah, I sort of want to get that one done rather than combining it with my others. I want to sort of get that set done and put away, and then I can work through the other three that I have kitted up. But yeah, they've been great to do. Kim, she says, Paint Gem Mini Company, she says, needs to hire me as an ambassador. She says, since you have turned so many viewers into their product, she says, such an influencer. Oh, I don't quite know if I'm an influencer. I don't quite know if I want that sort of title going on. But yeah, I just love them. It's so easy to sort of brag about the diamond paintings that you do or enjoy, and they're just so different. And I think that's the thing. I know there's a lot of other companies doing things similar now, but I feel like, you know, Paint Gem Minis have just, yeah, obviously people enjoy them because there's other companies doing similar ones. But yeah, I just think they have such a great choice and I really enjoy doing them. So it's easy to talk up the things that you enjoy. Right, let me get my next one. Madison, she says, hi Rebecca. She says, in regards to getting some paper off your canvas, she says what she does is she pours some drops of water on the spot that's got the paper, and then she rubs it in until the paper is completely out and absorbs the water with a paper towel once it's dry. And then absorbs it with a paper towel. She says once it's dry, it is super sticky again. Should hope your family feels better. Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, just get water to sort of dissolve the paper. A baby wipe works if it's a small amount, because then you're only giving it a small amount of paper, small amount of water or liquid, and rubbing it into the paper as you go along. But for big parts, yeah, try a bit of water. Monique says, hi Rebecca. She says she's really enjoying the waffle. She says, but it's sad it's getting near the end. Yes, 23rd that comment was left. It seems so long ago, yet not, all at the same time. Cat Lady, she said June has flown by. She said, is that because we're getting older? Quite possibly, Cat Lady, but let's just not say that out loud. She says it doesn't seem that long, she says, since the year started. Yeah, we've had the longest day a few days ago, she said, so mid-summer. She says, well, we're having some beautiful days now, she says, but it's a bit late. She said, let's hope it stays for a while. Yeah, the 20 odd degrees can stay for a while. The 29 degrees that it was showing in the conservatory just before I came in here can do one. Can disappear. She says the painting is coming along nicely. She says hopefully I can relax a bit more next week. Well, as you may know from listening to the waffle, things went into full force here in relation to stock and packing advent. It's taken a little bit of a slowdown this week, but just primarily due to the heat, which is also why I've been in the shop later, because once it cools down, that's when I tend to go and do a bit more of the day's work. When I can move, when I can move more freely. Right, so I've got up to, got through some comments from the 23rd. Sorry, this one is a shorter one. It might even be shorter than Thursday's, though I won't be sure until I get it actually on the computer. But I have been in here filming videos for most of the day and I'm cooking. So I am going to go and sit in front of the aircon, and I think the video for next week I'm going to try and film on Sunday or Monday because it's just far too hot to continue filming today. So I hope everybody has had a wonderful weekend and is going to have a wonderful week. If you're in the UK, I think it's going to be a really nice week. I know in our area I think it's due to rain on Monday, but only a little bit. And then it's a nice 20 to 22 all week. So hopefully wherever you are, you get the nice part of summer this next week. That would be very nice, especially while all the kids are off. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching and I'll speak to you all again soon.